So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Poison Ivy, so let's start the series. Madara couldn't help but smile as he saw the last key to unlocking his prize. He had been waiting and planning for almost a century. His first plan, though the most well thought out, would have taken too long and had too many variables. If they became too strong before he could reach them, then what? However, the initial strategy took decades, whereas this one took less than 20 years. Why wait when you could just take what was rightfully yours in the first place? It only took the Kyuubi 6 years to wait for the Biju to fuse to their seals, and even less time for the weaker creatures. Now that he had all 9 demons under his control, he had only a few seconds left in his endless life to separate himself from this harsh world into eternal tranquility. Over the noises of the demonic statue, Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki, yelled, "My brethren! We have worked long and hard for this chance, a chance at peace. A chance to remake the world in our own image. For that I thank you from the bottom of my heart," the spectral figure said, nodding his head towards his comrades, each of whom nodded in return. Madara could hardly contain the smile that his protégé had brought about. Young Uzumaki Naruto was the final sacrifice needed in this world, and now we can create a world where people like him will never exist, Madara said. Inside Naruto's soul's corridors, the kind old guy wearing the mask assured Naruto that he would never experience pain again, but he was afraid of the creatures in front of him. These purple monsters were hurting him more than he could have ever imagined. He would be a hero. However, why had he lied? Boy! A weary voice called from behind Naruto, making the 6-year-old turn to face the glowing red form of something that could only be described as some kind of insane dog-rabbit hybrid. "Is this truly the end of us, Uzumaki Naruto?" the Usagi Inu asked, his voice brimming with exhaustion. "Is this how you end? Before being known? Before being accepted? Is this all you were destined to be, a body on the road to destruction?" Naruto slowly shook his head in the negative, his young mind unable to understand that anyone would want to be a corpse for an unidentified project. "Do you not care for me, little one? Who are you?" he asked in a gentle yet powerful voice despite the hybrid's threatening appearance. The Usagi Inu grinned at the youngster in front of it, its big white teeth gleaming in the otherworldly purple light. Naruto scowled at the beast, his eyes welling with tears of agony from past and current suffering. "I am your healer, the one that kept you warm when the winters came, the only thing separating you from the monsters out there. I make you unique. But they hate me." The big beast chuckled shallowly, its voice trembling along Naruto's inner corridors. "They are jealous of your potential," the demon said slowly, "but they didn't tell you because knowledge is power, little one. Imagine having half of the logic they could give you, imagine taking back the power, imagine." The demon was interrupted when the large purple light abruptly changed into a draconic form, with several large heads grabbing onto the Usagi Inu with razor-sharp teeth. The cage, which Naruto could now see in the light, started to warp around the beast as the heads tugged, pulling fur and flesh to their apex. "Uzumaki, Naruto, please, don't let them have me," the demon fought the light with all of its might as Naruto watched the spectacle. "They don't like me," Naruto said, replaying the conversation in his mind. "But they never really hurt me," he said. Then, abruptly, Naruto saw an old man holding a gift for his birthday, explaining to him the significance of the promise he had made, a bond between two people, a promise to be better for the other one. Without hesitation, Naruto launched himself at the closest dragon and started to pull with the demon. "I promise." Naruto muttered over the spectral dragon's howl of rage, "I promise, you won't be taken from me." Both Naruto and the Usagi Inu roared as they started to pull the dragons back into the cage. The actual world Madara was astounded to see that his reward was sitting in front of him, but the statue was malfunctioning. This cannot be done. It is impossible for anything to stop Jubi. No. Madara cried in fear and amazement as the eyes of the statue holding the Biju began to bulge. One by one, the eyes popped, leaving only glowing balls of multicolored energy that were quickly swept up in the stream of power and eaten by the boy. It can't be, there's no way he's, Madara raged in his mind, seeing the purple dragons quickly losing any slack and turning into straight beams of energy with a force he hadn't felt in well over 30 years. Alongside Naruto smiled as he realized he and the crossbreed were winning. The dragons were no longer pulling back but instead trying to flee. They realized that they were losing and it terrified them more than anything. "Yes, Naruto. Fight with me." The beast called out with more strength than it previously had. Naruto turned happily to being only to see two large balls of light flying down the catacombs, his once good mood now replaced with terror. The boy turned to yell a warning at his companion. However, before even a word could be said the balls connected with the crossbreed. Naruto quickly turned his head thinking his new friend was dead until he heard an unexpected noise, laughter. The Usagi Inu wasn't in pain, in fact he seemed happier. Naruto quickly looked back at the beast only to be amazed. The once red monster was now changing color. The tale of sanity and lust. Naruto gasped as three more spheres he hadn't noticed collided with the now tricolored monster, now instinct, forgiveness, and rage. Naruto begged the ever-increasing beast, his eyes now catching sight of the 9 magnificent tails behind it. What's happening? Usagi Inu-chan. Don't leave me. Please. The dragons had long since ceased pulling and were now streaming into the demon, along with 3 more spheres. Integrity, salvation, dreams. The colored hybrid suddenly flashed with light, blinding young Naruto for a few seconds. Uzumaki Naruto, I was once the tail of honor, the queen of foxes, but now I am reborn as myself. Naruto's eyesight cleared up allowing him to see the being in front of him, where there was once a large red hybrid now stood blue one. On her, Naruto had barely caught the word queen in his awe, sat a large red circle with 3 rings, with 3 small comma-like marks on each ring sat just between its ears. Her large slit cerulean eyes matched Naruto save for the fact that the whites were now a crimson color sat just feet, to her it would seem inches, from the circle. Finally, 10 large blue tails flowed freely behind her as she stepped forward and out of the cage she was previously imprisoned. I am the Jubi no Yaju, mistress of energy and power itself. But most importantly, I am now a part of you. The self-proclaimed beast smiled as Naruto fell away from the bleak world. Actual world his Manjikyu Sharingan was demonstrating the very energy of Earth being absorbed into the small body that he had once hoped to use as a sacrificial lamb, and Madara was terrified as he watched his creation grow stronger by the second. Madara had a sudden thought. This wasn't the Jubi being freed, this was far more terrifying. This boy, he's filling in the gaps of Jubi, he's become the body. Madara thought so deeply that he nearly failed to notice the boy's energy level rising as the power he was absorbing became visible to the naked eye. Realizing he had no other option, Madara hurried forward in the hopes of carrying out his plan. Mugen Tsukuyomi. Madara screamed as he pushed his own power into his eyes in the hopes that he could still control the beast in human form. When Madara's energy first touched the boy, a direct bridge was created between him and the Jinchuriki, allowing their energies to converge. Madara fell to his knees in agony as the child's ever-increasing chakra started to override his own. No, this can't be it. Madara attempted to fight by putting more energy into the fight, but the child absorbed it. The battle lasted 2 minutes, but to Madara it felt like the rest of eternity. When Madara finally gave in to his fate, he thought, this feeling. His body was disintegrating into dust and his energy had vanished, leaving him to wonder, is this, God? Madara asked one final time before the demonic whirlpool of power ate up his entire being. Alongside Naruto following the Yaju's declaration that it was a part of him, Naruto was overcome by an overwhelming surge of blue energy that left him blind, deaf, and unable to see or hear anything else. However, the attack was accompanied by images. An older man gazed out at the greatest competitor he had ever encountered, the opposite half of Rikudo, also known as the Shodai Hokage, and inquired, is this truly the best you have to offer, Hashirama? Naruto would have gasped in shock if he had been more lucid. That was the Shodai Hokage, a man he had admired since he was old enough to comprehend the difference between a hero and a villain. More images quickly entered the child's mind through the light, but this time they continued unabated. A little boy with black hair yelled, Itachi and I-san. Look, I did it, I really did it. To a bigger youngster with flamboyant red eyes. A red and white fan was embroidered on the blue shirt he was wearing and sat on his back. A little boy with red hair screamed, No Yahiko. Don't die not now, and was slain by a warrior. He didn't realize that his once green eyes had turned silver as the shinobi who had killed his companion was crushed by an invisible force. A young girl with purple hair, wearing a shabby pair of brown slacks and a matching shirt, held her neck, a tiny black mark etched on the delicate skin, and asked, Orochimaru-sensei, why me? Another black-haired lad, half of his body buried beneath a wall of boulders, muttered, I told you, why you weren't trash. His one red eye gazed at his brother, the eye he gave to the person he considered family, the one who would carry on his legacy. Kabuto, fetch me my body. A young man with silver hair and glasses, a pale man with serpentine eyes, said to his aide. Chiyoba-sama, they're gone. A little kid with red hair and tan skin sobbed to an older woman. The mother instantly dropped to her knees and clutched the last of her family. A stunning blonde woman with chocolate eyes sobbed over her deceased lover at her feet, her twin blonde ponytails cascading down onto his lifeless face. Dan, please wake up. As he gazed at the approaching beast, a blonde-haired man whispered, I am sorry, my son, I won't be here to teach you about our family, I won't see your first steps, or hear your first word, but I will always be there when you need me, he said, biting his thumb and rubbing the blood in a spiral pattern on the now exposed child in his arms. Hours later, Naruto had finally completed processing the information, enabling him to awaken. What was that? The kid murmured quietly, glancing at the bored Yaju. Naruto had long since fallen to the sewer system's ground as the millions of images merged into his head. Ah, you are awake then, good, that makes leaving easier. What you just did, my little one, is called Omnirevert. It allowed you to gather back all of the energy that was taken from me and returns it back to you. It also allows you to gather the knowledge they had gained throughout their lives. What happens to the people? Naruto asked, his natural joy overflowing at the knowledge that allowed him to literally know everything. He reasoned that the only thing preventing him from using the energy he was now a part of was chakra control. No matter how many people understood tree walking and senbon balancing, they couldn't even comprehend the level of energy he had, so they limited his body in many of the techniques. The only techniques he could currently use were pure elemental techniques, the various Bushin no Jutsu, and possibly the basic forms of all taijutsu. Advanced would require his body to be bigger, so the techniques were useless. The beast waved a huge tail in front of Naruto, a mirror of ice springing to life in its wake. Naruto stepped forward, trusting his new friend with his life. His eyes widened as he took in his new appearance. Minor changes had occurred, but they were obvious to him. First, his once slightly pointed teeth were now terrifying fangs made obviously to rend flesh. Second, his slight whisker marks were now deep clefts in his cheeks. "Simple, my loved one, they die," Naruto said without even blinking at the word die. Most frightening of all, though, were his eyes, which had undergone a significant transformation. A silver orb had taken the place of the previous occupant in his right eye, and 3 perfect circles encircled it. When the eye was examined, the word Rinnegan sprang to mind, and the Yaju nodded its head, its big vulpine head bursting into a smile. "That, my loved one, is the Kokoshibiu, my own personal gift to you. This eye gives you the ability to utilize my ability to absorb energy. Just be careful of how much you take. Too much and they die, but too little and you gain no benefit," Naruto said, nodding at the demon, who was already enjoying its gift when a stray thought crossed his mind. "Correct, little one, but not quite," Naruto said, turning to the other eye that was now in his socket. It was a brilliant crimson color, and it had 3 rings around the pupil, just like the Rinnegan, except that each ring had 3 comma-shaped marks on it. As she gazed at her new body, the beast grinned and said, "But who am I going to use it on? I've already killed the entire planet. Simple child, search your mind for transportation techniques. There should be one that you can learn quickly and, with some aid from me, we will be capable of leaving this accursed world. It should be called." The outside world. Naruto opened his eyes to see the barren wasteland he had created, the sun obscuring his vision. As he sat up, he marveled at the power he now possessed, realizing that where a cave had once been hidden inside a forest, it was now just a desert of ash, with each tree having lost its energy to Naruto himself. Smirking, Naruto drove one of his little fingers into the ground, and as he did so, a kunai appeared, this one with 3 prongs, which was covered in an odd pattern. Naruto laughed at his father's inventiveness, turning a nearly useless weapon into a weapon of mass destruction. Though it was brilliant, Naruto was using jutsu at a whole new level. If you're not going to be traveling far, why not just use the ability to become light? And what better location than the one Jubi suggested, a planet like theirs? Naruto launched the tri-pronged kunai and quickly vanished, saying, "Goodbye elemental nations. A new planet and hello my new home." Naruto exclaimed to himself as he landed in a pitch-black city. Lights shone from buildings that seemed to reach the sky everywhere he looked, and he was astounded by how tall the buildings were, so tall that he couldn't even see the tallest from the ground. "Well, this will be interesting," he murmured to himself as he made his way down the dim alleyway and past the numerous trash cans. As he continued to walk, he came upon 2 men standing at an intersection between 4 buildings. Naruto couldn't see their faces because they were wearing black masks, but their scent was unmasked. As Naruto realized it would be useful to know the city, he quickly committed the name to memory. Well, look at this here Nessie. A little kitty lost in big bad Gotham. The shorter of the two men asked in a mocking tone, "Where's your mommy and daddy?" His partner laughed as Naruto looked up to them both. Without a trace of sadness, Naruto answered, "Dead." The would-be criminals failed to notice the tone, but the taller of the two knelt down until he was almost eye level with the youngster. The shorter man started to snicker at Nessie, assuming Naruto didn't get it. Sadly for them, Naruto got the twisted joke. "That's so sad," he replied sarcastically. "How would you like a lollipop to suck on?" "Thank you very much for the offer," Naruto said, waving his hand, and a huge tree appeared behind the masked men. The men realized they were not dealing with a helpless little child, and the tree grew 10 feet quickly. "However, I'm afraid that you aren't going to be getting anyone to suck anything again. Goodbye," he said, as two vines were swiftly launched from the leaves, their rope-like bodies curving around the pedophiles' necks before snapping back to the tree. Naruto grinned as the monsters in front of him were slowly suffocated by his plant, their death throes coming and going swiftly. June 23, Gotham City, 1:30 a.m. When Commissioner Jim Gordon arrived at the crime site, he understood the significance of his visit, even though he had been violently removed from his house at 1:30 in the morning for a straightforward homicide case involving two former convicts. Gordon said, "Commissioner," in a gloomy voice from behind him. The head of Gotham Police Department, who was whirling around calmly, wasn't shocked to see Batman, Robin, and the Dark Knight himself. With their assistance, Jim realized that they couldn't possibly fail to capture this psycho. After all, Batman had the highest record of villains apprehended and banished for life. "Batman, thank God you're here, this is a sign that we don't want," said Batman, nodding as he moved forward, followed closely by his bird sidekick. The caped crusader remarked, "I only know of one person who can use plants to this level," as he gazed upon the natural gallows that stood in the desolate city. Jim nodded, but he couldn't stop the chill from running down his spine. As his adolescent sidekick shuddered, the Dark Knight nodded softly. "I prayed it wasn't, but you mean her, don't you?" "But I thought that Poison Ivy was in Arkham," the little inquisitive replied, "and besides, why would she just kill two random guys and not try to steal something?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out," the Batman said, swiftly chopping off a branch from the tree. June 23, Arkham Asylum, 2:10 a.m. In the city's largest sanitarium, the dynamic duo hurried through the hallways, causing many of the criminals they had imprisoned there to yell death threats. Batman almost laughed when he thought about it, asking why he would fear them with inches of bulletproof glass between them. Eventually, their journey ended at the cell of prisoner 1010, Pamela Isley a.k.a. Poison Ivy a.k.a. Mother Nature, the only person who could have grown the plant that killed those thugs. When Batman and Robin stepped up to the glass, they were not shocked to see Poison Ivy's voluptuous body. Her green skin reflected the artificial light hanging above, making her red hair shine even brighter. "Well, if it isn't the Dark Knight," a seductive voice called from the cell. "What can I do for my esteemed captors?" she asked, her composed voice erupting with resentment at the word captors. The Dark Hero said, "We have a couple of questions for you, Ivy," with a little growl. He never liked to ask villains for their help, but there was nothing else to do. Tonight, two thugs were killed in an alleyway near Central Street. Any idea why they died? The crimson and chartreuse beauty gave a cheeky smile to the man who some thought was the most enigmatic hero in the world. Ivy's once divine features had turned into a terrible frown. "And what, pray tell, does this have to do with me?" I've been imprisoned in this disgusting place, as you well know, she said. Batman said, I know you've been supposedly imprisoned, reaching for a little wrapped package beneath his left arm. But the way they died is a perfect match to your M.O., he said, gently unwinding the cloth that surrounded the bundle. Using air quotes around the word evil, Poison Ivy growled, what they were attacked by evil plants. Ivy's eyes widened as she looked at the branch in Batman's hand. That's precisely what happened, she said, after the Dark Knight had finally finished unwinding the package and revealed the branch he had cut off from the tree earlier. There were two men, known pedophiles, who were strung up in a tree with a vine noose around each of their necks, she said. It was different. Being a creature of nature herself, Ivy was able to understand the language and energy inside each plant, and with this knowledge and her blood acting as a medium, she was able to get them to work for her. However, this plant lacked the natural energy that most other plants had. With her face plastered against her cell's glass, Ivy said, It shouldn't be possible. It defies every law of botany there is. It defies the very definition of nature itself. Batman and Robin were surprised by her response. Batman questioned, what do you mean by it shouldn't be possible, while Robin giggled quietly to himself. The sidekick with the bird motif asked himself, this is Gotham, what's ever normal? Ivy was practically drooling now, because this plant alone could tip the scales in her favor during the planet's war. Why you don't get it, each plant has 3 stages of life. There is the growth period, followed by an interchanging hibernation and blooming period. This plant hasn't got a growth or hibernation period, meaning it was just created, out of nothing. Batman questioned, do you know anyone capable of doing this? Ivy had recently removed herself off the list of potential killers, but she was still a top botanist in the world. Batman, if I knew who did this, I'd take his projects for myself. Batman grunted as he turned away from the woman and left the building with his faithful sidekick in tow. It shouldn't be possible, but someone did it. They completely eliminated Mother Nature. That means, I have to find the genius behind that plant, Ivy said to herself, grinning as she looked at her finger, a tiny spot that was growing quickly from her hand until it turned into a mushroom. Thank God for spores, and thank you too, Batman, she said, as her cell door was swiftly removed and the gorgeous eco-terrorist went looking for her other half. Using Naruto on June 25 at 8:23 p.m. Since the day he was born, Naruto's life had drastically improved. He had used his Kagebushin technique to rob dozens of people, but the best part was that he could wear a henge and no one would ever know it was him. However, as they say, all good things must end, and Naruto realized that the area he had been liberating money from was a poor area with little to no true economic value, save for the occasional mobster who had the misfortune of encountering him in an alley. They were merely ornaments for Naruto's trees. The boy realized that he would never get anywhere, and the local pedophiles were becoming frightening. This made me wonder, where is the economy heading at the moment? Charity galas for unidentified groups or organizations. Normally, Naruto wouldn't feel comfortable robbing a charity, but since none of these people genuinely cared about any cause, he had the ideal justification to ease his guilt. Which charity should he steal from now? If Gotham was renowned for anything, it was its poverty in the abundance of affluent businesspeople. The hands of fate are turning, Naruto thought, smirking as he made his way to the large pseudo-greenhouse, where Earth clones were transforming into menacing-looking thugs holding kunai. The doorman was the first to leave, his face frozen in eternal fear as his head was severed from his neck with just 2 quick swipes of the hardened earth blade. Inside, no one had even noticed Naruto's approach, giving him some time to play. Naruto swiftly turned each clone into a waiter and stalked towards the stool next to the gorgeous woman in an emerald cocktail dress. "Some party, eh?" Naruto asked eloquently as he struggled a little to get onto the much higher stool. The woman simply looked at him, her emerald eyes almost glowing, before returning to her drink. "Hey, mister, can I get a glass of water?" The barkeeper nodded, not used to having children at the bar, but it was okay because the child didn't request alcohol. Besides, the barkeep thought, the kid looks like he could use a hand with eyes like that. The redhead said, "You don't seem to belong here, kid," as Naruto was given his glass of water. Naruto just laughed and raised the glass to his lips. Naruto shot back, "Neither do you," as he was about to take a sip of his water, the cool liquid calming his throat. Naruto could sense the woman's suspicions, asking why any parent would bring their child to such a fancy party. As the woman raised her drink to her lips, Naruto merely grinned. The woman sneered, "You are a very intelligent boy, aren't you? I bet your parents are so proud," before finishing her drink. Naruto laughed as he took drinks from the glass in front of him. "They might have been, if they were still alive," Naruto said with a laugh as the woman's head turned abruptly to face him. "But then again, you know what an intelligent child means, don't you?" the woman said, shaking her head negatively as Naruto finished his water. "They're usually the bad seed out of the entire greenhouse," he said, leaping off his stool and making his way to the stage where the five-piece band was playing a somber song. An ideal party. The musicians all stopped playing when one of them exclaimed, "Well, look at this fine young man." Naruto smiled sweetly and looked up at the dark-skinned cellist. "Now what are you doing here, kiddo? Shouldn't you be with your mommy and daddy?" Naruto asked, nodding his head before pointing to the microphone. "Can I use that to find them, please?" Naruto asked as he dragged the please out to make it sound cuter. The cellist nodded his head before taking the mic and lowering down to Naruto's level, "Hi everybody." As the wealthy crowd turned to face him, Naruto exclaimed with excitement, "My name is Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki. The name of the man who is robbing you tonight." Naruto said, his smile turning into a fox-like leer that revealed his demonic fangs. "Now, I think we can do this the easy way or the hard way, which do you choose?" he said, signaling two of the masked thugs to swiftly close the massive doors while the others removed the illusion that surrounded them. Naruto inquired, "You ruffian, how dare you?" After shouting out, a young man in a tuxedo with his blonde hair slicked back was hanging from a tree and his corpse suffocated. One of the animated Earth Warriors said, "Now then, form a line if you don't want the boss to add a few more casualties," and everyone obeyed. "Everyone save one," he said. "You were the one, were you?" Naruto looked up to see the redhead from earlier walking towards him with a smirk. "You are the one I've been searching for. Now, I believe you and I have a little debate to start," the woman said, her skin changing drastically before ending in a light green. Her dress was a one-piece leotard with dancing vines surrounding her voluptuous body. "I knew this was the perfect chance to find you, but to think you are a child, amazing." The woman grinned as she now stood at the foot of the stage, a curious Naruto swinging his legs back and forth as he sat on the edge. "And you may be." This woman just kept getting more entertaining as the night went on, Naruto said, grinning. However, with the eerie sounds of mugging resonating in the background, Naruto couldn't help but liken her to a vindictive harvest goddess. She had placed her head on her palm and gazed at the dangerous boy beside her. "I am Poison Ivy, and you have an ability that I find fascinating," she said. "It sounds like such a delicious sin," Naruto murmured with satisfaction, "but why, pray tell, are you here?" Ivy joined in, surprising Naruto, who had been laughing. With a Cheshire smirk on his lips, Naruto remarked, "Don't tell me, you're a gardener." The mother of nature gave me a poisonous smile while taking a knife out of it. "Now, my dear, I think it's your turn. How do you grow such wonderful trees?" "You could say that," Ivy said, cutting a tiny cut into her hand and letting the blood flow into a rare potted plant that was going to be sold. "I can control any plant I wish as long as it has come into contact with my blood. I can ask them to grow or restrain or even kill." With awe and a tinge of deviance in her voice, Ivy asked. Naruto grinned at the woman with the green tinge, who gave him a sly smile in return. "Simple," he said, and a small bonsai tree grew. "I am the master of elements. If it exists I can probably control it. Trees are just my way of brightening up this dark city," Naruto said. "Maybe you could demonstrate for me how?" Ivy inquired, her eyes glimmering with delight at the idea of creating life with just a thought, and Naruto shook his head no. Ivy's eyes and smile broadened as the boy gave her his ultimatum, and Naruto leaned forward, his moist lips almost brushing the outer shell of the beauty's ear. "I'm sorry, but it's a genetic ability, but I may have a proposition for you." Ivy exclaimed, "Oh, you naughty boy, I love it," as she grasped the boy's hand and shook it gently to seal the bargain. At that moment, one of the clay golems approached Naruto with a sack full of stolen goods. The clone responded, "All ready boss," as it and its comrades piled their priceless payloads on the ground. Naruto was interrupted when a man wearing a black suit and a bat-shaped mask appeared. "Excellent, now nothing can." Naruto just glanced at Ivy and chuckled at the frightful demon known as Batman. "It's over Ivy and you too kid, come quietly or else there will be problems," Batman growled with a growl beneath his voice. "Is this the frightful Batman? This is what frightened everyone I killed who was afraid of you." As Batman started to snarl loudly, Naruto kept laughing. "Servants, why don't you give the rodent a nice fight?" The Earth clones laughed as they hurried past their new enemy. Naruto then went to Ivy and said, "Well, my dear, shall we have our first child?" Ivy flushed slightly before giving him a gentle slap on the shoulder, and Naruto laughed. The tree did nothing for a few seconds before Ivy casually hugged the arboreal accomplice. "What a little flirt you are," Naruto said, focusing on the area beneath his lute, causing a sapling to grow quickly beneath the bags, its widening branches hooking the bags and pulling them to the sky. "Now my dear, we simply combine our natural gifts." Ivy smirked as she pulled the dagger across her hand, letting some of her green-tinted blood splash onto the tree. The tree quickly grew, its branches penetrating the ballroom's glass window. "That's a good boy. Now then, my little friend, let us combine our abilities," she said with a nod and a smirk before Naruto started to focus his energies. "Come on, grow for mama, show your dad just what you can do." On June 25 at 8:51 p.m., with Batman was getting tired and irritated very quickly. The normal masked henchmen were not human, and they were giving him a hard time. Every time he broke one, it would just reappear from the dirt-like substance and attack him again. It was getting monotonous. The Earthmen abruptly disintegrated as Batman turned to face his real prey, but they were gone. What was left, though, was truly amazing. a tree that was at least 1,000 meters long, with branches that shaded many of the smaller skyscrapers. What was most intriguing about it, though, were the large pink petals that appeared to be blooming from the tree. Ivy and Naruto on June 25 at 9:31 p.m. It was the beginning of a terrifying new partnership, and Naruto couldn't help but laugh as he saw the monstrous tree they had left behind, with its large, gnarled roots curving around and occasionally piercing through entire buildings. It was both beautiful and frightening. Lovely, isn't it? It's like a testament to Mother Nature's power, beautiful one second and disastrous the next, Ivy said as she left the suburban house where the two were living. Despite being a villain, Ivy was a renowned scientist, so she was very good at planning ahead. One of her suggestions was to always have 2 layers, one in the city and one in the suburbs, and 3 backup layers purchased under false pretenses. She laughed at the idea. Ivy was intrigued now. Yes, but I think the best part was Batman being bested by Earth doubles, she said. She had assumed the group's muscles were just hired shooters, but real humans formed of Earth. To new alliances, Ivy toasted as Naruto lightly tapped her glass with his own. This partnership is getting better and better, Ivy thought to herself as she swiftly reached behind her to retrieve a glass bottle filled with a brightly colored drink and 2 wine glasses. Here we are, a natural fruit drink I made myself, Ivy said proudly as she took and poured the sweet-smelling liquid into the 2 wine glasses. To new friendships, Naruto said. Before they tipped back their glasses and let the fruity liquid wash over their throats, Naruto marveled at the smooth drink his new comrade had offered him. So what made you enjoy this? Ivy simply shrugged in response to Naruto's question, which was intended to initiate a conversation. What about you, my love? What caused you to drop out of nursery school and turn into a murdering psychopath? A degree in botany, an overactive imagination, and last but not least, I made the wrong people angry. Ivy inquired, her curiosity brimming from her positive attitude, and Naruto shrugged. I was a trusting 6-year-old that was told he wouldn't be hurt anymore if he followed a masked man. Come to think of it, my experience with masked people hasn't been good. Anyways, I followed him, but he was really using me as a sacrifice to a demon he was hoping to control. Go figure. Unfortunately, I lost almost all of my conscience, Naruto said as he took a few less serious sips of his refreshing beverage. You're essentially a 6-year-old homicidal psychopath with absolutely no remorse. The Mother of Nature merely shrugged and said, Welcome to Gotham, I have a feeling you'll fit right in, to which Naruto nodded. It was the first time that someone had ever said those words to him, and Ivy instantly became Naruto's most valued friend. Ivy directed a neatly combed eyebrow at him and said, I only have one question. What do we do with this stuff? As Ivy picked up one of the bags, she grinned slightly. The booty that the two of them had acquired was now sitting idly on the floor of the 1-story house. One of the bags had fallen open, revealing jewels and accessories valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. With a smile, Naruto picked up the nearest bag and started to follow Ivy outdoors. Easy, we're going to see a bird about some fish. Grab a bag, Naruto, and I'll lead you to the place, he said. Iceberg Lounge, June 25, 11:45 p.m. As he surveyed his club from the VIP room, Oswald Cobblepot A.K.A., the Penguin couldn't help but smile. This was the nest egg he had been searching for since he began a life of crime, and the funniest part was that crime funded the business, but it was a legal operation. Penguin realized his thoughts would be interrupted when a small blonde child entered his club and asked, Roscoe, my good man, would you please fetch the child that just entered the building? It would be awful if some of my less amiable customers met the boy," Penguin observed as a big, tanned man with a ponytail swiftly approached the youngster. The boy was easily lifted onto the big man's back, and the two of them walked across the dance floor to the staircase that led to Penguin. A decade later, the boy was seated in the big, cozy chair in front of the club's owner. "Tell me, my boy, why you're at this place for adults. Do your parents not worry?" The small, plump man inquired with a smile, and Naruto returned the smile, immediately like the man. "No. I brought a friend here." The boy was clearly lying, and the penguin laughed as he got up and circled his desk to give him a pat on the head. Who in their right mind would bring a child to such a place? A voice cried out from the door, "Well, Penguin, it looks like you've met my new little friend." But then again, the penguin thought, glancing at Poison Ivy's silhouette, there's a first time for everything. The penguin immediately moved away from the child and grinned at the menacing vixen behind him. "Gosh, if it's not Ivy, my former colleague." She grinned poisonously, her pheromones already warming the room for Penguin and his hired muscle. "I was told you wouldn't be out of Arkham for the rest of your life," she said. "Thank goodness you have my little friend here. Without him and Batman, I would still be dying in those artificial lights. But enough with the small talk, my sweetheart, I think you're still pawning stolen goods." Oswald Cobblepot's philosophy for years was any business was good business, and the penguin was already nodding when Ivy inquired. "My love, what would you like to present to poor old Penguin today? I'm glad to conduct business with someone as gorgeous as you." When Ivy watched him rummaging through the enormous quantities of jewelry with wide eyes, she threw her bags in the direction of the bird that could not fly and laughed to herself. "My love, this is an extraordinary haul. Where did you obtain this?" The villainess grinned and said, "Oh, just here and there," as she lifted Naruto out of the cozy chair and replaced him with her own body. Naruto wasn't complaining, though, because he was now sitting on Ivy's lap and she was running her fingers over his whisker marks. He let out a few purrs of affection and let the penguin in her laugh. "I can only pay you 400k per bag right now, but there is a lot of money that might be made from these bags. Is that okay?" The avian asked as he looked upon the cozy, yet interesting, couple. Ivy nodded as she sat Naruto down on the ground, his senses instantly returning after his little escapade into euphoria. The penguin stood and walked to a safe he had in the wall, quickly entering the combination. He presented Ivy with the large stacks of money. "Now my dear, is that all?" Penguin smiled as she asked, and Ivy grinned back at him as she turned to face Naruto. As she took Naruto in her arms and held him like a teddy bear against her bosom, the crimson-haired beauty said, "Yes, Penguin, that is all. But make sure to leave your door unlocked, you never know when there will be another payday in your future." Naruto simply sighed with joy as they departed, and the penguin was fascinated by the boy he had just met. Penguin smiled and took a glass of shrimp scampi from the mini-fridge to his left. "That boy is special, Roscoe, I can just feel it," he stated. Roscoe nodded in agreement with his boss's assessment. One thing Penguin detested was dumb bodyguards, which is why he hired Roscoe, who had a PhD in both psychology and sociology. It appears that Miss Ivy has formed a strong bond with the boy, which may prove beneficial in the future. What better way to understand someone than to have a psychologist present? Although he was a psychologist, Roscoe recognized that his boss knew more about the various criminal psyches than he ever could. I think that would be a very dangerous idea, Roscoe, he said, pausing for a moment before nodding. Ivy isn't known for her love of children or people in general, so for her to act like that with the boy it means that he is a very precious thing to her, and revenge-driven Ivy is a very, very bad opponent, Roscoe said. Home of Ivy and Naruto /June 26 1:23 a.m. When Ivy ran her pale green fingers through his sunshine yellow hair, she discovered another thing she liked about him. If she were to ever conquer the world, she would have him by her side until her death. However, Naruto seemed to care only about her, which made her feel like the queen of the world. Ivy couldn't help but cuddle up next to the child she was now sharing her bed with in the dead of night. He was the most amazing thing that had happened to her since she became a criminal. There would never be a day when their names weren't feared by the brave and revered by the insane. Ivy said to herself and Naruto in the back of her mind, "Tomorrow, Naruto, we will take the world by storm." One good day restored some of her humanity, so what could she get with two? Only until it got closer to the conclusion would time tell. With his eyes spinning in a hypnotic dance, a young man with red eyes screamed, "How could you?" As he turned to face his father. "What does he have that I don't? I'm more powerful. And I'm smarter, but more importantly I'm older. Why did you choose him over me?" His father sighed as he gazed at his cherished children. The silver-haired man said sadly, "I chose Naruto as my heir simply because he can see what I say, and until you can, I cannot trust you with this power," causing the oldest to silence himself. "You haven't learned yet, have you? There is more to life than power. You must understand a person's heart. Our dreams and our spirits allow us to become gods, my son, but you only see the benefit of a strong body," he said, his powerful voice causing the eldest to silence himself. Toby said, "Very well," as he made his way to their home's door. "If you will not respect me as your heir, I will prove my power," he said, turning to face his brother with his red eyes growing even more flaming. "I will prove my power, on the battlefield. I will fan the flames of your demise, Senju Naruto, for on this day I shall evolve beyond the name of Senju. I am Uchiha Tobi." With a silent gasp, Naruto woke up as the last of the dream faded. "So, Uchiha Tobi," he thought as he glanced at his bedmate. He quickly stifled a chuckle as he looked at the goddess who shared his bed. Although she was very seductive when awake, she was cute when she was asleep. Her naked body, which he assumed she slept in every night, splayed across the large mattress, her body assuming a position that Naruto had learned from the memories of Jiraiya the Toad Sage, spread eagle, if he remembered. Looking down, Naruto examined the green silk sheet that protected Mother Nature's modesty. "Nice," he thought to himself as he rubbed the liquid-like fabric, enjoying the cold surface that was only warmed by the heat of the bodies in the bed. When Naruto realized he would not be able to sleep any longer, he quietly left the bed and went to the bathroom to get ready for the day. "Why wait for the water to run?" the young boy asked, waving his hand, and the water instantly condensed into 2 feet of water that rested in the large marble tub. Naruto smirked as he stepped into the water, its cold temperature increasing as he focused on his fire powers. 104 degrees, perfect. Naruto relaxed in the bath, his eyes closing as he reflected on his life, infinite power, no conscience, and a beautiful woman by his side. Although he was not yet old enough to fully appreciate the fact, the millennia of knowledge in his mind did not help him cope. His body didn't need to procreate, but his mind understood the pleasure. Fortunately, his willpower could hold out. "You couldn't even wake me, darling." Naruto didn't even bother to open his eyes because the change in wind from her breathing had alerted him. He let his eyelids fall open as he glanced at the eco-terrorist's clothing, or lack thereof. The stunning green woman was standing nude and grinning at her much younger companion. "Mind if I join you?" Ivy asked impishly as she entered the green bathroom, her body having already expelled all traces of sleep. Naruto laughed to himself as he shifted to the side to make room for Ivy. "So, my dear, what shall we do today?" Ivy asked as she gently wiped the dirt and perspiration from his body. To most people, it was a sensual start to the day, but to Naruto and Ivy, it was just a peaceful start to the day. As he felt Ivy's body heat up, indicating a blush, Naruto smirked and said, "Who knows? What would you be interested in, my goddess?" It was enjoyable to make the woman experience these feelings. Naruto yelled, "Anything, my dear, anything. Unlike most people, I'm not weighed down by such pesky morals as right and wrong," as Ivy rubbed more sensitive areas of his body to emphasize her point. Naruto realized two things at once: first, puberty would be the most amazing, and second, the worst period of his life. Naruto waved his hand around him and asked, "Didn't your mother ever tell you not to do that on the first date?" Ivy watched in awe as the bathroom steam condensed above the bathtub into a thick, spherical cloud. She gasped a little when a tiny drop of water with the same warmth as the bathtub landed on her nose. As she watched in awe, more drops fell from the cloud in a shower that covered her and the child in her lap. The warm water ran down her body and hair as she realized what her young friend had done when he handed her a bottle of herbal shampoo. "Amazing," Ivy murmured, massaging the shampoo into each of their scalps. "Maybe we could take over the world." "Of course, you have no trouble manipulating it to suit your needs." Ivy kept holding Naruto close to her nude body as he stepped out of the bathtub. "I can walk, you know," Naruto said, smirking down at the head in her bosom. Coming from Mother Nature, that means very little. Naruto laughed as his heated rain wiped away the soapy liquid. With another wave of his hand, the water stopped and the cloud was scattered throughout the bathroom atmosphere. "You're just too cute to allow to walk everywhere," Ivy said, abruptly changing her smirk into a frown. "Perhaps we should pay a visit to an old enemy of mine," Naruto said, raising his eyebrows as he turned to face his Demeter-like comrade. Ivy put him down so he could dress, and Naruto questioned, "And who would that be?" Her lovely face became ghoulish as she recalled the location, and her own garments seemed to grow out of her body. In his later years, Naruto would come to realize that this was the best memo he had ever had. "Star Pharmaceuticals was the place where I was, reincarnated, you could say. They torture plants there, and..." Ivy growled out as Naruto flinched. Note to self, she's scary when angered. Naruto raised his hand to silence Ivy. Ivy nodded, a bright smile spreading across her face as she gazed at her blonde friend. "The moment you stated that you wanted to pursue them, you had my complete support. My only question is whether or not you want to go all out or not." He's the ideal companion, she thought, adding that he was prepared to ruin an entirely innocent, to him, business for her. "Now what did you mean all out?" Ivy said, her understanding of her companion's skills generating a number of potential outcomes. As they approached the door to their house, Ivy shook her head negatively. "The usual," Naruto shrugged, "mass destruction and murder. Why did you want something else?" With a single thought, the big branches of the sakura tree that hung over Gotham swiftly extended their branches towards their parents to help them on their journey. Ivy swiftly drew her smaller companion into her arms as the branches formed a throne for their journey. "Next stop, Star then breakfast," she said. June 27th, 11:32 a.m., Star Pharmaceuticals, WH. What do you want? A scientist questioned, glancing at the individuals who had apprehended his team. They ought to have realized anything was off when they allowed the woman inside, but how could they have been certain she wasn't a clown hired for a birthday party? A snow-white-faced man with a hideous smile said, Now, Doc, I just want all chemicals on this list," passing the sheet of paper to the sniveling man at his feet. The smiling man's face was sandwiched between a purple suit and a distinctive green hairstyle. "Yeah, get the meds for Mr. J, Doc." The woman beside him was equally intimidating, even though she looked like a clown. Her black and red leotard, tasseled headpiece, domino mask, and white face paint would have made her the life of any child's birthday party. The gun she was holding, however, made it clear to the doctor that this was the almost legendary Joker and his assistant, Harley Quinn, as the name suggests. The doctor begged the insane clown pair, but we don't have those chemicals here. This is botanical laboratory. We make shampoos, not chemical weapons like that." The Joker took hold of the elderly man's thinning hair as his smile grew even more insane. The Joker laughed as he tugged at the man's thinning hair, making him whimper in agony. "Don't lie to me, you have all the chemicals I need for my Smilex. Now just point them out to me and we'll be out of what's left of your hair, cue ball," he said. But the scientist was interrupted when the building's metal ceiling abruptly separated, letting two additional individuals in. One of them was a youngster, but the other two were all scientists. "No," the guy said in a raspy voice as one of his female co-workers passed out from terror. As Ivy's throne of cherry blossoms lowered itself towards the laboratory floor, Naruto grinned and said, "Sorry, are we interrupting something?" The green woman grinned at the shocked expressions on the faces of her fellow villains and the frightened expressions on the faces of her erstwhile scientific peers. "If it isn't Red." "Hi Red, how you been?" Harley exclaimed with excitement as she waved at her friend who had previously been imprisoned. Although they weren't the ideal couple, they did occasionally get along. "Who's the midget in your lap?" scowled Naruto, who despite his strength had always struggled with his height, especially around men who would often make fun of him. Now Harley, it isn't polite to mock people who can kill you," Ivy said in a reprimanding yet humorous tone, while Naruto snarled at the woman he was cuddling with at the time. Despite being offended, Naruto grinned somewhat when he saw that the woman holding him was having fun. "So who exactly are the clowns?" Naruto inquired, as the clown's eyes opened. "You're enjoying the cracks at my height, aren't you?" Naruto managed to mumble in between the growls, causing Ivy to giggle. With a tone that was both amused and shocked, the Joker said, "You don't know who we are. I'm the Joker, Clown Prince of Crime, and this is my comedic pet, Harley. Now isn't your daddy or mommy looking for you?" The Joker's smile unnerved the doctors who were imprisoned. The Joker glared around his smile, saying, "How dare this child tell him what to do? Who did he think he was?" The deranged jester paused as he looked at the child and said, "Now could you two leave, please? Ivy wants to destroy this place and I want to make her happy." The Joker drew a concealed firearm from his vivid purple outfit with a flourish. "All these shots you've been taking at me, I think it's my turn," the Joker said with his trademark deranged laugh as he shot at Ivy and Naruto. Ivy braced herself for impact, hoping to shield Naruto, but then she noticed that he was calm. Looking up, she saw why. Naruto had paused the bullet's path with his right hand raised so that it sat only centimeters from her forehead. "You just shot at my friend, I think it's time you left, Mr. Joker," Naruto growled, his voice devoid of any positive tone. Then, with another wave of his hand, the metal floor beneath the Joker transformed into a platform. The Joker then started cursing at the boy as the platform ejected him through the gaping ceiling, his form vanishing into the sky as Naruto returned his focus to the prisoners and Harley. Harley said, "Yeah, you wouldn't hurt a girl, would ya?" as she raised her hands in surrender. Naruto turned to Ivy for advice, but received a negative response. Ivy rubbed her cheek against Naruto's crown as he pouted and said, "Fine, but can I still kill these jerks?" "Good, now, Snowflake," Naruto called to Harley, "get over here if you don't want to die," he said, nodding quickly. Naruto turned back to the captives and sighed, "Sorry ladies and gentlemen, but it seems like today you die, no offense," he said, looking back at the captives. Naruto held up his hand, the action captivated his audience. "I've been hoping to use this ability soon, but it seems like today you die, no offense," he said, as a small orb of blue light appeared in his hand, its diameter steadily growing stronger until it was the size of a basketball. With a quick toss, the ball floated over towards the amazed scientists, stopping just above their heads, its blue light hypnotizing the captives. Naruto waved goodbye to the hostages before the cherry blossom tree pulled the three villains out of the ceiling, the metal closing behind them. Harley was startled and a little afraid of the lad in front of her. "What was that?" she asked. If he could do that to the Joker, what could he do to her? She swallowed the thought, but Naruto just grinned and turned to face the clown princess. "Wait for it," Naruto said, and as soon as he did, the building burst into blue flames, instantly melting the metal and cement structure. Ivy and Harley gazed up at Ivy, asking, "Like it?" The green woman grinned down at her blonde companion before embracing him more tightly in delight. The building that had once been a part of her past was now nothing more than a molten pile of stone and metal, and Harley, who was not used to Naruto's power, passed out in shock. Naruto laughed as Ivy made sure her companion didn't fall from the dense branches of the cherry blossoms. "We'll wake her when we get home." June 27, 10:16 p.m. Batcave. Bruce Wayne was frightened of a villain for the first time in his life. Naruto was a youngster with no motivations for his actions, no desire or greed, just a thought would cause people to perish. How can you stop someone like this? A machine to his right beeped abruptly, alerting Batman that it had finished its task. The Dark Knight got up from his seat and hurried to the printer that contained the results. His computer contained no records of the boy, no information on his birthmarks, and not even a disease that could have caused the boy's deformed eyes. The boy was literally a ghost. "Anything, Bruce?" Barbara Gordon was naturally perceptive and could tell what her mentor, her older father, or even her fellow assistant, she refused to be called a sidekick, were feeling at any given moment. However, she was perplexed this time because Batman had never been this way before, jumping at every little sound, watching over his shoulder, and always having the cameras around the mansion pulled up on the Bat computer. She understood that Bruce Wayne thought Naruto could follow him. The dirt in those golems the kid made, the petals of the tree he made, and the metal from Star are all normal except for some traces of poison ivy's blood in the tree or the organic chemicals found that were present at the lab, Batman said quietly. "No trace of any chemicals." Batgirl swallowed. If there were no chemicals involved in that explosion, then all that remained was a child who had no regard for human life and could change the world to suit his wishes. Batgirl had seen the remnants of the lab that had once been Star. Every scrap of metal had turned to sludge, and blue flames occasionally erupted from the lake of molten metal. Dick Grayson shuddered and a little enviously added, "And what's worse is that Ivy has some sort of crush on the kid," and Batgirl rolled her eyes at the idea. It was inevitable, she thought, because Dick attended a mostly male school and she was the only woman he had constant contact with. However, the relationship between Ivy and her new, literal, boy toy was more akin to a sibling bond than a romantic one. "I wonder what it would be like to have someone willing to burn the world down for me," Barbara asked herself, the thought conjuring up amazing images of both beauty and destruction. Batman acknowledged, disregarding the teenager's tone, "Yes, that is an issue. Ivy is a very strong psychopath with no human conscience whatsoever, and the fact that she bonded with the boy so quickly indicates that he is a valuable resource to her cause, a resource she isn't likely to give up," Batman said, slouching in his chair as he considered the potential repercussions. Dick stared at his father figure and questioned, "Meaning?" Barbara frowned at his lack of awareness. "This is bad because it means we have to take Ivy down before we even have a chance to get to the kid," she said quietly as she pictured the impending altercation. "Meaning that she won't let us take him." Batman turned to the computer and said, "There is a chance that we can take the kid out quickly though," before a video recording from a bank near Star began to play. "Look here," Batman said, pausing the recording to point to the three villains who were now leaving through the ceiling just before the building melted. "Ivy is holding the kid," Batman said, bringing up a video from the fundraiser. "And here he isn't moving, the kid doesn't seem to be a hand-to-hand fighter, and neither is Ivy," Batman said, bringing up a video from the fundraiser. "Yeah," Barbara said, pointing to the Star recording once more, "but Harley is a close-range fighter, no to mention the kid's ability to manipulate things, she distracts us and he kills us, and let's not forget the insta-henchman the kid can make." She shuddered at the idea of the kid bringing more goons to life, while Batman simply grunted as he returned his attention to the computer, his mind planning his next move in this chess game. Home of Ivy and Naruto /June 28 /1:32 a.m., Ivy's eyes gleamed a little, giving Harley a clear indication that she was thinking about Naruto before she spoke. "So Red, mind explaining why you're hanging around a pipsqueak?" the now conscious Harley inquired as she and Ivy relaxed in the living room. Naruto had gone to bed early. The Harlequin mistress's eyes widened at the thought. "He's the most amazing creature I've ever met, Harley. He rips apart the laws of nature as if they were wet paper," Ivy whispered, her voice lowered in awe. Harley, on the other hand, simply raised an eyebrow at the plant woman. "Imagine," Ivy explained, "the ability to simply create water, or fire, or even life." Ivy quickly calmed the overly enthusiastic Harley and turned to face the bedroom door, hoping their tiny pal hadn't woken up. But that's like God's job." Harley looked at her friend who was dreamily gazing at the cherry blossom tree that sat in the horizon. "Perhaps, but the child is loving. So far he has destroyed the only building I have ever truly hated, and he even began to refer to the large tree as our child," Harley said. Suddenly, a giggle spread from Harley's mouth. "Geez, Red, need me to leave you alone for a little while?" Ivy turned to her female companion and was about to respond when she heard a little laugh coming from the bedroom door. Both women turned to face the door, and to their surprise, the blond boy approached them. Ivy quickly gathered him into her arms and started stroking his whisker marks once more. Ivy said, "We didn't wake you, did we, dear?" Naruto nodded his head no and then leaned back against her reassuring breasts. Despite being a deranged psychopath, Harley was still a psychologist at heart and mind. "Nah, I don't sleep well anymore, too many nightmares," she said. The opportunity to comprehend this child who had captured her friend's heart was too tremendous. Naruto shrugged a little as he remembered the millions of nightmares and thoughts that were always going through his mind. "About what, kiddo?" she inquired quietly, her normally vivacious voice much calmer than usual. Harley attempted to appear professional by saying, "Just old memories," but she was unable to control the snort that came out of her throat. Before he faded back into Ivy's caretaker, Naruto scowled at Harley for a moment, letting her watch his cheeks start to swell. "How old?" "2 weeks. Come on, shorty, you ain't old enough to have bad memories," Naruto said. "Making faces won't help." Harley replied mockingly with a smile before Naruto's mouth spit out a jet of water, splashing her snow-colored face with the warm liquid. Harley jumped and yelled as the water splashed her face, revealing the tanned face underneath. "Ew." Ivy laughed as Harley attempted to wipe the runny makeup off her face. With a sigh of satisfaction, Naruto exclaimed, "That's what you get for making fun of people stronger than you." The laughing soon subsided as he turned to face the tree that towered over Gotham. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Naruto questioned. Ivy nodded as she walked towards a spare room. "Yes, it is," she agreed, resting her chin on his golden crown. "But you were right, it is our child," she said, unable to control the slight tingle that ran up her spine every time she said those words. "Come, let's go back to bed," Ivy said as she stood, a few of her joints cracking slightly under the welcome movement. Harley was about to argue when she had a fleeting thought. They had just committed a major act of environmental terrorism, which meant they were a major threat in Gotham, and a major threat means big bats will come out to play. "Night Red, night Sunny," the two said, nodding as they went inside their room to get ready for the next round of their conflict. If Harley had been paying closely, she would have seen a little rose with an envelope drop into the ground. Police station in Gotham /June 28/2:01 a.m. On the other hand, it seemed like more and more metahumans, the now politically incorrect terms for freaks and monsters, were born everywhere, including Gotham, Metropolis, and even the relatively smaller Jump City. Jim Gordon genuinely loved Gotham, but nights like these made him wish that he had declined the offer of a police officer position years ago, when he could have been a farmer or a small-town sheriff. However, what made him come here? Or perhaps the other way around? Gordon asked himself, glancing at a still-frame photo of the blonde youngster Ivy had adopted. The senior officer pondered as he gazed at the enormous pink tree, which was now a stunning representation of Gotham. Many believed that the tree was created by the now demolished Star Labs to give Gotham a more earthy feel and to return to nature as the city grew farther away. Gordon believed that all of them were idiots. "Commissioner," a dark voice cut through Gordon's reflections, preventing him from delving into more sinister thoughts. The white-haired man turned and was not shocked to see his dark allies Batman and Robin. Batgirl, on the other hand, was a little out of the ordinary, but not unheard of when high-priority cases were underway, and nothing was more important than eliminating the botanical villains. "Any new leads?" Gordon asked, knowing that they had to apprehend these two as soon as possible, not only for the safety of the public but also for Batman's own sanity. Despite receiving a lower salary, this man was the best cop in the station, and that responsibility came with a terrible curse, the obsession with the one who got away with murder. Gordon sensed Robin's perplexity at that point and said, "Solomon Grundy," and the confusion vanished with just one sentence. "Nothing, we have all of Ivy's and Quinn's records, but there isn't a single one for the kid, no Amber Alerts, no birth records, not even a death record." And his crimes? Batman was aware of the child's actions, but he was unsure of how frequently they had occurred. The child might have killed once, twice, or 1,000 times. Gordon became disheartened by the avian impersonator's composed tone. Gordon wasn't shocked to see the two youngest people in the room flinch when he said, 123 counts of murder. All of those unsolved cases of back alley assailants that were killed belonged to the kid, 24 of those, 28 from the tree roots, and 71 people killed by the Star bombing, Batman said, nodding his calm mask, slightly straining but keeping the older man's face in check. With a swift turn, Batman was out the window and climbing the wall with his two sidekicks right behind him. Bruce Wayne told himself, this can't go on. He would not allow these killers to escape, even if it meant having Superman X-ray the entire city one block at a time. There is no place for monsters like that in this city. Batman shook his head, unable to stop the chill that went down his spine when he considered what he was doing. They didn't think like killers, and he was the hero. "Bruce, are you okay?" Dick asked, turning to face his foster father. Although the Batman was known to occasionally lose his train of thought, it was always better to ask than to discover later that someone had damaged his mental state. Batman simply grunted before stopping, his entire body freezing. This was one of his first lessons as Robin: if Batman freezes, you better prepare to fight. Almost magically, a small rose grew from beneath their feet, quickly reaching the height of Batman's hand before opening to reveal a letter. "Is it safe?" Robin asked, both fascinated and uneasy that they had been discovered, but Batman had long since moved past the paranoid stage and had already grasped the note. "Well, what's it say?" Dick asked as his mentor's unwavering frown deepened. "It's an invitation to dinner." Gordon had just received the same letter, but Batman was unaware of it. June 29, 6 p.m., Fleur's Batman was shocked to see the young boy and his caretaker hiding in the rooftops overlooking Fleur's, a fancy restaurant that his alter ego frequently frequented. After all, an invitation like the one he had received meant that the boy was either pulling a heist somewhere else or that he was confident in his abilities. The Dark Knight thought that the boy had every right to be confident, but to his surprise, he had shown up with Ivy and, surprisingly, Harley Quinn in tow. The blonde was now being seated by a frightened waiter, and Batgirl exclaimed, "He's actually here." The three heroes watched in awe as the three villains casually struck up a conversation, their actions concealing any hint of nervousness. "Bruce, are you sure you want to do this?" Barbara asked, her fear controlling her actions. If the boy was willing to have such a friendly meeting in broad daylight, he was certain that any action they would take against him would fail. Robin muttered, Barb, you might want to look at this," as he gave the red-headed man a pair of binoculars. Barbara was shocked to see her father enter the restaurant calmly through the tool. The blonde who had been speaking motioned the man to the only table that was occupied, the others had been swiftly abandoned, while the still frightened waiter brought him a menu. "Bruce, we have to get in there now." Batgirl almost whimpered in terror at the sight of her father, a man whose only real threat was a small handgun, having lunch with three psychopaths. Her mentor nodded silently, and the three heroes with animal themes swung their weapons and swung through the window they had been looking through. As soon as their feet touched the ground, they were being swiftly pulled to the other three seats. The little blonde exclaimed with delight, "Ah, if it isn't my esteemed guests," as the three were pushed into their seats, their utility belts immediately being unclasped by an unseen force and flung onto a nearby table. "After all, this is just a friendly meeting, so there's no need to keep such uncomfortable accessories on," she said. Naruto laughed as he saw the three heroes' irate expressions. "If it's such a friendly meeting, why tie us down?" Robin said, pointing to the branches that had grown from the wooden seats and wrapped around their legs. "I think you all have met my friends, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, right? But I haven't met any of you in person. I'm Naruto Namikaze," the blonde said, grinning at his captured guests. "Just a precaution," he said, before lowering his head a little. Batgirl snorted at the gesture. "What, no special name? And here I thought it was all about creativity," she joked. "And what, pray tell, do you know about creativity, Batgirl?" Ivy asked. Naruto had consented to this unprecedented event, and she and Harley were both a little nervous because they both believed that sitting across the table from the head of Gotham's police department and the Vermin Triad, as the three heroes were known in the underworld, would never occur, at least not outside of interrogations. "After all, are you not just impersonating a man who you can never hope to be?" Ivy began, but Naruto grabbed her hand before she could finish. Now my dear, this is a friendly meeting," Naruto said, caressing the back of her hand. Ivy's rage swiftly subsided as he touched the delicate skin with his tiny fingertips. "As for your question, Batgirl, there are no words that truly describe me," he said affectionately to a wide-eyed Batgirl. This was the first time a villain had ever treated her as a person rather than just a bother or an object. Harley said, "'Cept maybe God." To the group, but Naruto persisted despite his companion's remarks. The child pointed to the little tuxedo he was wearing now, which was deep red, nearly black, with a little white tie and a small black cloak wrapped around his body. "I do have to say though, I enjoy this look," he said. "What do you think?" he asked. It looks good," Batgirl stammered in response. It was a very strange day. She was dining with three villains, her father, and her squad while praising their attire. Before the waiter arrived pushing a cart with 7 dishes on it, the boy said, thank you, sir," and then the blonde handed the man a wad of bills. "Also give my compliments to the chef please," he said, nodding before entering the back room. Gordon pulled out his gun and slammed it on the table, asking, "You said that this was a friendly meeting, right?" "Then I want to ask some questions," the man responded coolly. The boy answered, "Very well, ask away," and started to devour a plate of pasta. Given that this was essentially a hostage situation and that he couldn't stop the youngster from doing anything he didn't like, the commissioner respectfully ordered, "I want to know why you killed all of those people." "All of those people were criminals. I believe that they deserved to die for what they did," said Naruto. Batman questioned, "And what of the star scientists?" if only to silence the small voice in the back of his mind that concurred with Naruto. "They broke the laws of nature," the lad shrugged in response, and Ivy grinned while Harley kept eating her steak. Finally losing his temper, Robin questioned, "Is that why you called us here? For some sort of hippie threat?" The 6-year-old laughed and replied, "Of course not, that would be foolish, to call my adversaries for a mere threat." With her head racing, Batgirl questioned, Then why call us here, Naruto? He had clearly scheduled this meeting for a reason, but why not set up some kind of death trap? Why would she invite her father? Simple really. I am a firm believer in the idea of knowing one's enemy. That is in fact the reason Harley is here. She understands an enemy that I have recently made, Joker. Batman snarled, which was the boy's whole motivation. He didn't bring them here to make fun of them, instead, he read them like books. This would need incredible analytical abilities, similar to those of Bruce Wayne. Correct, I simply wanted to understand the Dark Knight and the Clown Prince of Crime, but I see now the real rivalry between you isn't between good and evil, is it? The child replied with a smirk, the rivalry is only between the two sides of your own mind. You hate the Joker because of the mystery surrounding him. Ivy and Harley here have something that Joker doesn't, and that's what you hate the most. You hate Joker because of the fact that you don't have an answer to the mystery that is his existence. Naruto clarified as Batman's scowl grew. Robin snarled in support of his mentor, saying, "So you came here to taunt us?" Although they were no longer as close as they once were, he wouldn't tolerate some egotistical child taunting him. Silly fool, Naruto chuckled, I came to make a simple statement. Joker has no past, but an animal with no past is still just an animal. You understand why that would scare your beloved mentor, do you not? But why would he fear a being such as myself? Naruto pondered. In response, Robin shouted, because you're a monster. As his small group arrived at the bistro, Naruto said, wrong, he's scared because of the fact that I am his true antithesis, and besides, Gotham City's had both a Dark Knight and a Clown Prince. Don't you think it's time for a king to step up? The doors then closed, leaving the four heroes alone to consider the monster's words. Home of Ivy and Naruto / June 29th at 7:01 p.m. Harley screamed in terror, do you have any idea what you've done? The child had not only made fun of Batman, but had actually angered him. The unspoken rule in Gotham was to never enrage a man unless you were ready to die. Up until this point, the rule had been observed, but Harley was certain that she and her friends were going to perish. As he swam beside Ivy in her pool, his powers already heating it to the ideal temperature, Naruto remarked idly, oh, I know precisely what I've done the so-called impossible. The man in the mask will realize what I've done to him, he will obsess over the challenge I've set. Essentially, I've made Batman my own personal toy. Every little fact about my past is hidden. I've only recently taken my last name. I wasn't born in this country, and I have no family. Now all I have to do is plant a few clues about myself, Naruto said. That's. Ivy exclaimed eagerly, brilliant. You'll give him false clues and eventually. Ivy trailed off in awe as Harley's thoughts swiftly filled in the rest. You'll drive Batman mad.